episode 67 of Strange Brow Radio. My name's Tobe Johnson, and today is part 2 of Nothing Will Stop Them with guest Sacha Christie. If you haven't heard part 1, listen to it before you listen to this one, because we're picking where we left off with Sacha, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But you have a million choices to be listening and watching a million different things, and if you're listening to this, thank you very much. I'm up against the likes of the Tiger King, so I know that you're either crazy for listening or beautiful people, probably both. So thanks for doing that. Anyway, part 2 coming up in a second, but if you want to help out the show, go to patreon.com/strangebrowradio. patreon.com/strangebrowradio. And for as little as $3 a month, you can keep the entertainment rolling while you're in quarantine. Why not? Extra podcasts, extra videos, really interesting videos, actually. So check that out, patreon.com/strangebrowradio. All right, as I said, our guest today is Sacha Christie. This is part 2 from our interview we did. Actually, it was less than a week ago. We're pumping out episodes more and more with our newfound freedom. I hope that this freedom doesn't go away and feel more like a trap. As the parks start to close down and now you can't go fishing, at least up here, it feels a little bit more like we're being in lockdown. So I hope that feeling leaves soon. Anyway, part 2 coming up, and nothing will stop them. And I'll tell you more about that in a second here. But first of all, we have an event coming up. It is April 4th and 5th. We just got done with a webinar Michelle Freed and I produced with Colonel John B. Alexander of Skinwalker Walk fame and NIDS, the National Institute of Discovery Science. He was there before the book was, and if you had a chance to tune into that, that was a fantastic time for you to see him do a back and forth with the likes of Tom Powell. And Tom and him were on for a better part of 3.5 hours. And so that was quite the treat. Now, we plan on doing more of these webinars. This one was free. I think the next one will be close to free, if not free as well. But I want to keep producing these webinars and putting you in contact in small groups with these public speakers that have incredible experiences. So this was recorded. I'm not quite sure where it will be uploaded to, but it was recorded. So coming up, something else recorded is, as I said, April 4th and 5th, the Sasquatch Rendezvous. You can get a ticket now. I suggest you do. Limited run on these tickets. That is a 2-day event, April 4th and 5th. You're going to have Ron Moorhead on the line, myself, Timothy Renner. You know some of these names. Check it out at SasquatchRendezvous.com. A fully immersed virtual webinar with people that are invested in the Sasquatch, the supernatural Sasquatch phenomena. And there will be never-before-played audio and video as well. So, again, SasquatchRendezvous.com. You can get a 2-day pass, a family pass, for $30. That's $15 a day, and you can share it with as many people as you can cram into your feed at your house or your bunker or wherever you are, hopefully not a tent. So check that out. That's Sasquatch Rendezvous coming up April 4th and 5th. Who better to talk about this than the producer, the founder of Sasquatch Rendezvous, Sandy Nelson. So here's a word from Sandy. All right, today we're talking Sasquatch Rendezvous on April 4th and 5th with the producer, Sandy Nelson. Hello, Sandy.
Hi, Tobe. How are you?
Well, good. It's good to be here with you, and we are less than a week out from the moment this commercial will be airing here. Tell people a little bit about what you have going on April 4th and 5th.
Well, we have a live stream conference through Zoom. You can go to www.sasquatchrendezvous.com and to get your tickets for your link. You need a Zoom link. You can watch it on any PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone or Android device. It is a conference on Sasquatch. We are going to be connecting the physical and metaphysical aspects of this phenomenal being. We hope that you join us and enjoy this conference.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've got some big names coming on board here. Talk about the lineup.
Well, we have Tom Cantrell, who's celebrating over 60 years of research. We also have Mitchell Townsend, who is an educator in Washington State, Scott Taylor with the BFRO. We have Robin Roberts from Colorado, and we have you, of course, Togue, from Strange Brow Radio. He's going to be presenting as well. Ron Moorhead will be with us, presenting Quantum Bigfoot. And we also have Peter Jampgard and, of course, Timothy Renner out of Pennsylvania and Strange Familiars podcast. So people may know him from there.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, great. So now these tickets are $30. And so explain to people what they get for $30, because they're not just locked in for, just themselves. This is a family ticket. They can share this experience. How would they do that?
Well, they buy the link for $30. It is for the all-inclusive access to Sasquatch Rendezvous. It's 2 days of speakers and topics. They can view it with their family. So I would say practice social distancing, so there should be no quarantine parties, but you can view it with your family and just enjoy the conversation. You can also interact with the speakers. There'll be an opportunity to ask them direct questions after each topic is presented.
Perfect. Again, that's SasquatchRendezvous.com. Pre-register now, and then we will see you on April 4th and 5th on Zoom.com. Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you so much. We'll see you there.
All right, now you know where to go, and I hope to see you myself, although I technically won't see you because you'll be digitally in the audience. You'll see me, and I'll feel you like Luke Skywalker. By the way, we just started watching The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, one of the quarantine shows that we downloaded. And aside from the music, it's really well done. It has the feel of the original Star Wars, and you'd be shocked at some of the people that make an appearance in this that really fit in nicely. It has that Iron Man kind of sarcasm to it because of the director, I think, being the same director. But man, they got the music wrong. No John Williams. I mean, it needs those sweeping ballads that we all remember from Star Wars, and instead it feels like a episode of Magnum P.I. half the time. But I'd check it out. I still watch it, and they're like 33 minutes an episode, so definitely right for the kids and the cartoon, sitcom mindset. So Disney Plus, boy, what a ghost town that must be right now. In fact, I'll make a plug for a YouTube channel. Watch this guy at the Daily Woo, W-O-O. That's about the right lingo for the people that listen to this. And no, he's not off playing his drums or whistling in the woods looking for Bigfoot, but he goes to amusement parks, and now he goes to abandoned amusement parks and films. So check that out. Very interesting. Also, while I'm on the same subject here, you guys have to go check out the C's Crazy Crossroad channel by a guy named Chris, who calls himself Triple C, C's Crazy Crossroad, the letter C, and then Crazy Crossroad. And the stuff that this guy gets doing these 30-minute challenges, I cannot figure out how he hoaxed it. I don't think these are hoaxes. Check it out. 30-minute challenges alone in some of Florida's craziest establishments. I think he's got a hitchhiker. I think he thinks he's got a hitchhiker. So check that out while you have some downtime. Also, I am busily getting the audiobook of the Al Moon Lab up and ready for you. So I think that will be done in the next week and a half, and then it will be available for download. So fully immersive with sound, the whole story from beginning to end. And maybe I'll put a clip up here for us soon. All right, as I said, Sacha Christie, Part 2 to her interview. Now remember, we left off with her describing a bird that hit something that nobody could see, like an invisible wall. and there we will start again. Without further ado, Sacha Christie.
We go downstairs and we sat down, get a cup of coffee. I'm talking, telling him what I can remember. I said, and there was a, black dog chewing on my fingers. This happened, that happened. This lizard, this child, and he said, well, I was laid here. He says, and that wine bottle, he said, it was there when everybody went to bed. He says, now I heard it moving across the table and it moved to the other end of the table. But obviously we have the paranormal stuff all around us because we're all experiencers. So, that kind of stuff we probably should, but don't really freak out with it anymore. But anyway, he said he woke up. He was stood at the back door. He was looking up in the sky and he looked down and he had these black dogs chewing on his fingers and licking his fingers. Now, they were taller than the one that I saw. But I'd forgotten was it the next day? This is a difficult bit. I can't remember if it happened the day before or the next day. When everyone's outside and I'm looking at the floor, we're all smoke. I don't smoke anymore, but I was a smoker back then and everyone else was outside. We were all having a cig. And I'm just looking down and this bird lands on the floor in front of me like it's, like when they've hit a window.
Right.
So I was like, what the hell? And they all went, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like that. I was like, what? They said that bird hit nothing. It was just flying and it hit nothing and it fell on the floor in front of you. Like something was invisible, but there was a wall that it hit above our heads. So I'm not sure if that was the day before or day after. I really don't remember. But anyway, so we go to the conference.
Well, let me ask you this about the guy outside remembers 2 black dogs licking and biting on his fingers. He didn't have the same sensation as you did as far as feeling the prickly needle effect?
No. He said that he did remember him chewing on his fingers. He had, funnily enough, it's not funny. He had like on his chest, like a grid pattern burn, like if, like on toast. We toast.
So people walked away with physical evidence after this happened.
Yeah, but we didn't notice it at first. We didn't notice this at first. So, we got to the conference and Paola Harris is talking, come to have a break. So we're outside. I'm sat outside with Jason and his wife, Jackie, and again, having another cigarette. And as I tapped the ash into the ashtray, I noticed that I had all these bruises all over my hands. I was like, what the hell? All over the back of my hand. And I'm looking at it and I sort of pull the skin tight and each bruise has got a puncture mark in it. And there's 7 of them. There's 3 above, in between where my, the fingers with the squishy bit in between the bones in your hand, back of your hand. By my thumb, and that fleshy bit between your finger and your thumb, your forefinger and thumb, there's a 1 millimeter line. Then at the back of my hand in the middle, there's another one, and then there's another further 2 at my wrist. And I was like, what the hell have I done there? And that was it. Thought, what have I done? Carry on. Maybe I've done it when I've been traveling. But obviously I was like, but there's puncture marks. And everyone's looking at it. Ellis took a couple of photographs. So he was like, no, I don't think that's from traveling. And then my phone rings. So I answer the phone and it's my mum. I had to ring you. I'm really sorry. I had an awful dream about you last night. I just had to make sure you were okay. I said, why? What did you dream? She said, I dreamt you were in this house, she says, and you were laid on this sofa as you were covered in cling film or you were sweating. You just had your bra and knickers on and you were mumbling and moaning and I was fuming with you because I thought you were taking drugs again. And she said, I opened the door to these 2 men. She says, and one had a big fedora hat on and the other one had, well, she didn't know it was called that. We had to figure out what the kind of hat was, but I'll tell you, sussed it out. It's a fedora hat. And one had a big wide brim hat on, black, and he was all in black. And he was with another man, she called him a man, whose skin was that wrinkly, it looked knitted, and it was bright blue. His skin was bright blue. So she said, and then another part of it, she said, the my son Louis, the one who was in the hand in the hedge, said he was sat on the steel table. She said, he just looked at me like he didn't even know who I was. She jumped off and he vanished. She said, these two men, they're stood there, they're talking about you. You're all, like, she said, I don't understand. The windows were so high in this house. Like, she said, they were like, like when you're in a gym and they're really high up. I was like, yeah, doesn't sound like a house. Anyway, so that was her dream, but it had left her with such a feeling of horror that she had to phone up and find out if I was all right, because she'd seen me in this debilitated state on this sofa, lying down, mumbling and being weird. And I was like, basically, I've pieced it together. Obviously, she said cling film, like I was wearing cling film. I had some sort of rubber sheet put over me. It wasn't cling film because I'd have been able to tear through that. It was whatever it was thicker than cling film. I could hear two men. I forgot to mention that. I could hear voices. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but they were over to my right and they were talking. Now, when Anne, whose house it was, when she had an experience with reptilians and she had an experience like that and found herself in this dentist chair, she actually saw a man. She woke up, she came round, she saw all these tubes and needles in the backs of her hand, and she pulled them all out and blood was flying all over the place. This American guy came over and said, "Hey, honey, calm down," and put them all back in. She just went to sleep. She said what she was in this big white room and that the windows were really high up like a gymnasium and it was daylight outside. So, I don't remember that bit, but my mum remembers that from a dream, and Anne describes it as part of her experience when she was taken by the same being, and that there were humans involved. So humans and reptilians work together.
I want to just mention the cling wrap or the rubber sheet part in relation to Fire in the Sky, because there seems to be this overlap, this consistency with witness encountering and describing these pop culture references of things like The Predator. People describe that all the time, seeing this pixelated image. These are things that we've encountered here on our property. And then when you mention something that is related to pop culture, there seems to be this overlap to where either they're inserting these pop culture references as screen memories, or that the pop culture industry, Hollywood, screenwriters are clued into actual phenomena and including it into the script. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would agree with you there. That Fire in the Sky thing in the film, it never actually happened to Travis. He was laid in a room and he had all these things on his stomach, like pots and tubes and things like that, where he was hit by the zap. He thinks now that they were trying to heal him. Right. So that the thing where he comes out of that thing in the film, that didn't happen to him. So you have to ask yourself, well, where does that come from? Because something very similar happened to me like that. So it's an actual thing. It's not me going, oh, I've seen that in the film and therefore blah.
No, and I just wanted the audience to make sure that's what it was not alluding to. I mean, even your reference to your mother's reference to the Hat Man, that's a total phenomenon with abductees as well. So that's really, I would imagine your mother's probably not clued into the ins and outs of abduction experiences as much as you may be.
No, well, I would say that she was abducted that night, so I think my mum's an abductee. But she goes, I'm not talking about it, I'm keeping the lid on it. But she did one time say to me, this is another thing that ties in with Anne as well, because he could have totally blown me over with a feather, because when I first started talking about all this stuff, I lost my family for a little while. They thought I'd lost my mind. So for years later, my mum to start telling me things that's happened to her, it's a little bit of a shock, like, okay, so if you might have said that before, then I might not have gone mad. But then again, I probably would, because it's just more information to the madness. She said that she'd seen this lion man with fire for eyes, and he was talking to her. She says, I can't remember what he was saying, but he had fire for eyes. And I was looking at him, and they were like suns. So I was like, well, Jason's mum, Anne, said she saw a lion man, and he had fire for eyes, but he wouldn't open his eyes, and he wouldn't show Anne his eyes. And when she asked why, he said, because no human can look upon my eyes. I'm like, why is my mum looking in its eyes? And he's saying to Anne, no human. Why have my mum and Anne seen this thing 18 years apart? And me and Jason, we've got the same kind of reptilian activity going on. We were connected 18 years before we even met. These are the head scrambles that you have to kind of pull into these things, and you can't get an answer. This, like, what? So even though I didn't meet them till 2005, like 16 years prior to that, or however many years prior to that, my mum's had this thing with this lion man. And when Jason was 18 or whatever, which is about 12 years ago now, Anne's seen the same thing. But my mum's not read the book. I've never mentioned it to my mum. I've not put that in her head. She's just stood at my kitchen sink one day and comes out with it. So I was like, whoa. She also said she'd seen me in a tank of yellow liquid, like, and she was just stood there watching me, like, recovering, whatever that is, whatever that means.
Right. And there's a lot of names and dates in this interview that are going to, get people lost. They'll have to go back and listen to it again to get it straight. But overall, you're listing synchronicity. It sounds like you're saying that synchronicity is so much a play here with meeting people that have same experiences and being destined to meet them. Is that what you're describing?
Absolutely, 100%. I would stake my life on that. I wouldn't even stake my life on what the phenomena is, but whatever it is, it puts people together for sure. Because in 2012, I had some other stuff going on, and it was to do with the Greys. They were, I don't even know how I knew. Honestly, I play over this so much trying to figure it out, but I can't really. Like, I knew something was happening in my house. I knew it. I felt it, and I knew it was aliens. Even though I'd not seen them, not seen anything. I'd taken a few UFO photos, but that was not unusual. I see them all the time. Well, I don't look now, but I used to be looking all the time, and I would see weird things every now and again. So, 2012, I did a couple of sightings, but it wasn't the sightings that had me thinking this. I was in my house, and I just got the feeling, and I said, I know you're there. I can feel you hiding, chicken shit cowards. Excuse me for swearing, but that's what I said to him. Like, why are you always sneaking around? Why don't you just show yourselves? Like that. Getting to this point in time, all the awe has worn off. I'm exhausted from all of this. I'm scrambled from it all. I don't even know what my own life is. I don't, to this day, know what my own life is. So one night I wake up and I'm looking, and my bed is opposite my bedroom door. So, because I've got kids, I'm a single mum. They're downstairs. I've got this huge Victorian house. It's just absolutely enormous. It's like 4 floors. I'm in the attic, got the whole top floor to myself, my own bathroom, spare room, the whole thing. Huge picture windows, which was always like banging on about chemtrails back then. And always filming them and going mad about them. And, like, that's pretty much why I was seeing so many weird things, because I was also going mad about chemtrails. And so this night I woke up, and there's somebody stood in my doorway, and I thought, oh my God, it's a Power Ranger, because it looked like a Power Ranger. The light was on in the hallway right outside my room. There's like a little square, 2 steps down out of my bedroom, a little square. Then there's 2 steps up to go to the other room and the bathroom, or to the right, it's just you go down the stairs and there's a bend in the stairs. So the hall lighting is always on, because I can't sleep in the dark. Plus, if I hear my kids or anything, because my youngest was like 3, I would go running downstairs to make sure everything's all right. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have them upstairs. I was so frightened of them falling out of those top floor windows, because it was just dodgy up there like that. So they weren't going to get sleep up there. So I've seen this thing, and I think it's a Power Ranger. Then I go, so ridiculous, almost laughing at myself. It's a biker. because it's a helmet, and I think I'm looking at a helmet and leather jacket. And then because it was like face on, it was a total silhouette, very thin, distorted, with the light and the darkness. And I'm obviously just opening my eyes. But why I'm opening my eyes is because my brain is buzzing. Like somebody has got an electric toothbrush and put it right in the center of my brain. And it's almost teeth chattering vibration, it's really bad. And then it kind of turns to the side and looks down the stairs. And I was like, oh my God. So I start saying, no, go away, leave me alone, get out, leave me alone. And it looked at me. And I thought, oh shit, shut up. Sorry, swearing. I thought, shut up, because if you wake the kids up, it's between you and them. What are you going to do? Not thinking anything about what might be going on downstairs, and that it was actually just keeping me in place while it did whatever else was going on in the house was going on. I don't even like to go there. So, I'm like, my whole room is changing. The walls are rippling with different wallpapers and patterns. And one of them, looking back, was one that I painted myself. So it was like, I wonder, were they all the wallpapers and patterns of all the walls of all the bedrooms that I've ever had, or, something like that. Because one of them, I painted my chimney breast like a dramatic zebra skin, and that was part of one of the ripples that went round. But my bedding changed with it. Everything was just the walls, the beds, the covering was changing, not colour, but patterns. And I'm trying to sit up. I'm trying to get up. So I'm trying to dig my heels into the bed to get up, but I actually can't even really properly straighten my legs. I can see my legs sort of moving underneath the quilt. I'm trying to grab the quilt cover or the quilt itself, to kind of get a grip and pull myself up so I can sit up. But all I'm doing is getting a handful of the quilt cover. And I'm panicking and all these things going on. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, how ridiculous it is that there's an alien in my bedroom and it's wearing a silver suit and a helmet. Give me a break, kind of thing. It's like, that is ridiculous. And you can't even imagine what your thought processes are going to be in these situations until you have them. And when you do, they're just scrambled nonsense. It's like monkey brain is trying to rationalize this, So I'm looking at it and thinking how ridiculous it is that it's wearing this. And it looked me right in the eye. And I just had this boom in my head, like images, not like overwhelming. It was like, if you can imagine, you've got a balloon in your head and it's full of warm water. It pops, but it pops gently, and all the warm just trickles around your brain, in between your skull and your brain. That's the kind of feeling that it was. And what it was information. Why it was wearing the suit, why it was wearing the helmet, loads of technical stuff. And, and it was almost like a distraction. My kids told me some stuff. I'm not even going to bring them into it in public, but, my kids have gone through this. So the silver suit, what they're doing, what their abilities are, it's all, we're talking quantum stuff. They have got it sussed. They know everything they need to know about manipulation, frequency modulation and manipulation of matter. They can do it. Their suits, these silver suits, it was like almost like it gave me a close-up of these like very fine silver threads that were going. It was like gunmetal grey with these very fine bright silver threads that were going through it. And it even had this belt, but it wasn't a real belt. It was like sewn into the material. And this, it has an electrical current, and it has the ability to mask heat. Any kind of camera will never catch it because it manipulates light on a photon level. The air is toxic. The organs need protecting from various kinds of lights that we use. And in particular, one was blue ray, right? Now, blue light. Their organs work on a kind of photosynthesis level. So they get their energy from light. But if they're exposed to the wrong kinds of light, then it's damaging to them. The helmet, I kind of, in the stuff that was going on in my head. It was like a close-up of the side of the helmet. It was like a Nike swoosh with a little filter, air filter, which I saw. The point came down to the center of its chin from this helmet. The visor was, well, at least 12 inches long. It's, the lowest point, the highest point. Its eyes were absolutely massive and not almond-like, but they were kind of bulging out and then went back round. They're in the kind of same level as ours are, but because they bulge out a little, I think that's what gives the impression of the, them going up slightly, but they don't. So it manipulates light on a photon level. At a photon level, it masks heat, anything. So no one will ever see these if they don't want you to see them. They can hide themselves, and they could be stood an inch away from you and you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't be able to see it. And not even in a little pixelated way like the Predator. It's like, boom, gone. And so that was the information that it gave me. Well, because I thought how ridiculous it was. So it told me why. So no, they're just some sort of, I don't know, it's like some sort of plant, animal type thing. Don't know, but it the way
That's
that I was.
Hold on a second here, Sasha. Let's back up to this little glimmer. You said plant. Why did you say plant? Like
because I got the impression from it that whatever's inside them is actually green, and it's not the inside the liquid, whatever the liquid is. But it was the fact that it gave me the information. They process their energy through a form of photosynthesis. Mm-hmm. So obviously my monkey brain ties it to a plant, but monkey brain might be right in this instance. So I don't really know.
It's very interesting for the fact that the owner of the Stardust Ranch claims that, during his interactions here in America, he was able to get blood off of a samurai sword after striking a gray and sent the blood sample into some lab, and they came back with chlorophyll or some kind of plant substance associated with it. So that's pretty interesting.
I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that he killed nine aliens with his samurai sword.
But it's a great
find that very hard to believe.
It's a great story.
Great story, bro.
Yeah, right.
At the end of the day, I'm in the presence of one and can't even move. How the hell is he like running around, like a ninja when, if they can manipulate you with their minds? There's no way. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude and disrespectful, but I find it extremely impossible to believe that, knowing what it's like to be in the presence of one of those things. And chlorophyll you can get from plants. So, but it is interesting. But maybe somebody else knows this as well. Maybe someone else. Yeah,
he could have used the samurai sword to. He could have used the samurai sword to go out and clear brush, and had a trace amount of that on there. But there seems to be this conversation that keeps coming up about supernatural and paranormal and cryptids and aliens, all combining themselves in with plants or trees, or even what your son was saying, he called it the stick hand. Is that right?
Yeah, stick fingers.
Yeah. So there's, I don't know, seems to be some kind of link transmuting between them and
they remind me of gecko lizards. They remind me of gecko. If you've ever been like Thailand or wherever, and you see them all over the place, and they've got those weird shaped heads, and they've got the big dark eyes, and the smooth skin, and they're kind of grey, and they kind of remind me of them, and I feel like, there's some kind of biology there that's not animal. It's not. I don't know what the innards of an insect are. I've no idea if they've got green mush in them or whatever. I don't really know, but I get. They just remind me of gecko lizards and that smoothness of the skin. Because I've seen it. That's not the only time I've seen one. Like I like to say to people, you got to be careful, because you go to these conferences and things like that, and I think that's where we get targeted. I think I got targeted because I Well, no, you see, I say this. I've got targeted when I went to the Great British UFO show, but in the background, my mum's seen that Lion Man, and I'm seeing the Lion Man way, way, way before this conference even happened. So I keep thinking we're getting tagged, but I think we've already been tagged.
What do you mean by targeted?
So, well, I always thought, well, if I hadn't gone to that conference, I wouldn't have been abducted by reptilians. They were there. They picked me. That blob that fell at my feet was like a marker of some description. I don't know if this is true. This is my muse babble over what has gone on. So I feel like, there was going to be a conference nearby called RepCon, where it was going to be all reptilian abductees, and I really wanted to go, but I didn't want to go because I know that they come out of reptilian abductees. They use them as a portal to come into this environment on an energetic level. So, why would I want to go where there's going to be a room full of possibly reptilian overlords or whatever? I'm taking the mickey there, but I'm frightened to go to places now because I don't want to expose myself to anything else. When I got involved in the UFO community, it got worse. It got so much worse. And not only was I being taken by reptiles, greys, although I don't know where I was. Anyway, I've had a few incidents with the greys. And getting back to what we were saying about people putting it together, when I had the greys going on and that was coming on and I was shouting at them and telling them to stop hiding in my house, then I had that happen with the Power Ranger, I call him, in the doorway. I got a phone call from somebody. Someone gave me your number to talk to you because I've got all this weird stuff going on and I want to talk to somebody. So she came to my house. She told me all about her experiences. And I'm like, she knows she's an abductee. She knows these are aliens. We're just talking. So she tells me all these things that she's had go on. She's absolutely repainting to the most minute detail everything that she'd seen and what had gone on in each incident. And it was all the greys. Now, up to that point, I'd never had the greys in my life. So she's there now in my life with the greys. So she said to me, so what is it? I said, well, it's aliens, isn't it? And she was like, oh. Like, I was like, oh, oops. Like, because I thought she's been saying all this, just she knows what's going on, but she needed somebody to tell her, And I would have been a little bit more gentle about how I said, well, it's aliens, if I'd have realised that she still was not sure of what it all was, So from that point on, we've been like sisters. I don't know how I would have got through all that without her. I don't know. She wouldn't have got through all her stuff because it's continuing without me. So I fully believe we were put together. Mm-hmm. And that for the first time when I had this grey stuff going on, I had somebody else who had that going on as well.
Do you two have shared experiences?
Yeah, actually we do, because I was going back down to that house again where I got taken from because Jason wasn't well. And I'm going down there to see him, to say, come on, mate, you're all right. It's hard, but you've got to keep going. And he'd had some awful stuff happen. Can't really say what, but not to do with aliens, but in his life, death threats and all kinds of nasties. So I went down with Paula and it happened again. But I only have one recollection of looking down on the cars that Paul has. That's Anne's husband, parked up outside. He's got this black Mercedes. His license plate is UFO MIB, something like that. Anyway, so I'm looking down at that car. That's all I remember. Now, Paula, we were on the bed. We shared the same bed. She's leaning across, talking to me. I have no recollection of this. So I'm at one side of the bed, sort of sat up. She says, I just kind of had my head drooped down, and she was talking to me. She says, and I just looked up and my eyes went wide, and she just knew. She said, they're behind me, aren't they? And as soon as she said that, she went flying backwards. She went out through the window. She said, for the speed that she was moving at, she should have been like on the moon for the amount of time that she was traveling and the speed. It was all so fast. But she was only over the field in the house, opposite the house, which was literally a few hundred yards away. You cross the road, she was a few hundred yards away, but in the air. So as she going through the window, as the eyes met the glass, it was like she could see for miles either side, just this grey film. And then it was like, poof, and she was out. And it was reptilians again. And I can't remember all of what she went through, but we had some weird stuff going on downstairs before we went to bed. And they were all, I thought, oh, I don't like this. I don't know what's going on here. There's, Paula was saying, I feel like something's trying to come through me. She was like leaning forward, like something was pushing her back, pushing her from the back. And I'd gone to the toilet and I came back down. I walked into the room and I felt the energy. And I just stood there, like, thinking, came off the bed. So I went to bed on my own. Idiot. Like, you see, this is the irrational behaviour. I go to bed. I get in the bedroom. I go to bed in the dark. I never sleep in the dark. And I go to sleep while all this is going on downstairs. And Paula said that she was there and this reptilian thing had come in the room. And she's all she remembers of seeing is these massive thighs, these really huge legs, muscular, and that there was this little grey, and it kept trying to give her this gold balloon. And she's like, I don't want your balloon. She's like, kept running upstairs like it was checking on me, and then coming back downstairs and trying to give her this balloon, this gold sparkly balloon. Now, gold sparkles is something that I always see. So I said I'd seen that sparkle thing with the reptilians, remember? She's got this sparkly balloon, but she won't take it. Another abductee friend, his wall went gold sparkles before whatever happened. But the gold sparkles thing is another thing. We don't know what that is.
Well, and here we have something we're so familiar with, which is a balloon. You're saying a gold balloon, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, what in the world would they...
It wasn't a balloon. Yeah, it wasn't a balloon.
Right.
Balloon. But that's what her brain was trying to make sense of what she was seeing, and that's what that's the only way she could describe it.
Right.
But she wouldn't take it. And then in the morning, I was woken up because she landed on me. Sacha, oh my God. And I opened my eyes and her eyes are wide and she's like inches away from my face and I'm freaking out. What? Sacha, oh my God, something's happened. And I said, oh, I knew this was a bad idea. I knew I shouldn't have brought you. That was my first reaction because I said to her before we go, Paula, you need to really think about this because I can't guarantee your safety. No, I want to go. All right, okay. So it traumatized her totally. And being woken up like that was quite traumatizing in itself, I've got to say, because I've never, ever been woken up. Somebody literally shaking me awake and like inches from my face, shouting in my face, like, what? Oh my God. But she knows how the eyes work.
Okay.
Because she was in an experience.
Explain that.
Well, we find ourselves in these strange scenarios. We don't know how they come about, but we'll find ourselves somewhere and something's going on. Like, it's all bizarre, but there you are. She said she woke up, or she found herself in America. She knew it was America because of the way the buildings were and how wide the streets were. And we've got very narrow roads and streets unless it's a motorway. But, she just knew she was in America. And she said she stood next to this man who looks a little bit like Danny DeVito, but she's seen him before and she knows it's the little alien that always is with her. But sometimes he'll make himself look like somebody else, But she said it wasn't Danny DeVito, but that's the nearest description she could get to, right? Little short, fat, dumpy guy.
But not blue.
Which ties in. Yeah, no, normal like that. Okay. But I've had a lumpy grey in my presence before, a big chunky, fat, wobbly one. I'm not even kidding. Ridiculous. So anyway, she said she's looking around, looking at all the buildings. There's groups of people. They're all chatting away. It's a nice sunny day, and this guy hands her this what looked like a jellyfish. So she takes it and he says, put it to your face. So she said she got it up to her face and about an inch away from her face, it came to life and it suckered onto her face. And then all of a sudden, she could see all this other stuff. And all of the noise that was going on around her suddenly became organized. And she could hear what everyone was talking about, but it wasn't all jumbled. She could make sense of everything. She could see 360 degrees all the way around her, and she could hear everything that everyone was saying, everything that was going on. She knew what was going on in the space around her. She said she looks up, and in the sky she's seeing geometric shapes, squares, cubes, circles, and a fish swimming around in the air, right? So we all know that's a bit bizarre. The squares, you know, I've heard other people say this about seeing in the clouds. Oh, there's a square in the clouds. Or I've seen a boomerang cloud, perfect sharp edges. I mean, what the hell? So, you know, weird shaped clouds, not that unusual. But it told her that the way that it worked was because we live in black light. We think it's daylight, but basically the sun is like a torch, and it only shines on a certain part of the earth, and the rest of it's all in darkness or almost darkness. So it's UV light that we live in. And this processes all of the, you know, like, you'd have to have her on to get her to tell you how it works. But basically, because of the UV light and the brightness of what it is, we all give, everything on that's organic gives off a light of its own. But we're all in a bright light anyway, but it's black to us. Our eyes can only make sense of a very, very small percentage of what is around us and how we see it and how we perceive it. So whatever it is, it's to do with the fact that we live in black light and that we all give off light. And everything that's organic, plants, blah, they all have their own glow in a certain, frequency, certain ability to see. So we'll probably come up with a camera that can see like this one day. You know, the technology that we're developing now is quite amazing when we're getting to these, cameras that can see on the other spectrums of light that we just can't see without them. Well, that's what the lenses do with their eyes. So I've seen, I think Chris Bledsoe or somebody posted something recently about a woman who managed to rip off a lens on one of their eyes, and it was red with like white static. Now, I've actually come face to face, forehead to forehead with one, that weird lumpy one that I was telling you about. I found myself sat in front of a friend that I knew on Facebook. Now, when I met this person, her hair was nothing like it was when I met her in this situation. So what I now know is what I was looking at was her profile picture overlaid on an alien's face. And behind her, Bunny Rabbit is her, there's another friend. And he looks a bit weird, like he's had a stroke or something, because his face is a little bit droopy on one side. But I know who he is, and he's wearing his blue shirt, same as he is in his profile picture. So then I'm looking at her, and all I remember is saying, well, go on then, prove it. Like that, angrily. Go on, prove it. And then this face flickered, and I wasn't seeing her anymore. I was looking at her Grey's face. And then, boom, it changed, and I went, effing hell, her face changed. And the guy behind her goes, let's have a look. And he stepped out from behind her, and he had no legs. He was like, I know this is going to sound absolutely ridiculous. He was the same sort of shape as Roger from American Dad. That big, waddly, like E.T. legs.
Okay.
Grey, lumpy, wobbly, misshapen, fat. Waddled over to me, but in a second. And it was like, boom, its forehead was on my forehead. And my eyes hurt. It was like my eyeballs had no choice of their own to look where they wanted to do. They were just looking up into these big black eyes. And each eye had a pinpoint of white. So I'm looking directly into these pinpoints of white in the center of all this blackness. And it's literally hurting the muscles in my eyes to do this. And then everything went white. Not like a light flashed into my eyes. It was behind my eyes. It was in my mind, white. From the center of my nose, it went out sideways, boom, to the sides of my head, like that, white out. So tying back to what we were saying before about things in the movies with the neuralizers and the Men in Black. Oh, yeah, boom, and this is what you remember, blah, blah, blah. Well, it wasn't a flash of light in my eyes. It was actually behind my eyes. So there you go. They have pupils. And they're tiny and white.
I mean, there's
It
so
sounds
much
insane. I know how it sounds. I do know how it sounds.
Well, it does. Okay, so it does sound insane, but I realize that you're not insane. There's way too much here for that to be the answer. I mean, the reality is that reality is so much stranger than normal people know, and you're verifying this with all of the details. I would love
I
to.
have felt insane.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that this probably brought you to the brink of all sorts of stuff. I mean, you've already talked about some of the darker roads that this has taken you on. Now, the gal that you just mentioned, the synchronistic meeting between you and this friend, what was her name again?
Paula Elizabeth Green. She's I've got a radio show on YouTube. It's Sacha Christie Paranormal Mysteries. But if you just Google Sacha Christie Paula Green, things will pop up, because I had another radio show in 2012, Citizen Sane Radio. So I did some shows with her there. I've got other abductees that I've spoken to as well. So yeah, and what we're doing at the moment is we're going to put our stuff together, because we also had a time anomaly. Do you want to know about that?
Yeah, of course.
We were together and it happened. Oh, you've got to talk to her. My God, the stuff that's happened to that woman. Anyway, so I've gone to pick her up. I live in Liverpool. She lives in Leeds. She lives in Bradford. So we're talking 65 miles away, 70 miles. And with traffic, there's a junction called Chain Bar out there, which is like, what is it? Maybe 10 lanes or something. It's insane. You can't get through it. Whoever made it thought this is going to make all the traffic move, because we've got all these great lanes, but then it narrows into 2 lanes all of a sudden, so it's all just jammed up. It takes forever to get through that bit. It's a nightmare. You can't get to Liverpool from Leeds without going through this nightmare. So I picked her up. I got to the end of the street. I said, I'll just text Dave and let him know that we're on our way. So I texted my partner and said, we're on our way. It's an hour and 20 minutes. So we gets out of the car, get out of Bradford. We get past this awfulness. So there's a turn that we need to take at junction 12, and it takes you off. You go off left, and then you go right, and then you're on the road to Liverpool. So I messed up and missed it. So we had to go up to the roundabout, because we were blah, 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 like we do every time we get together. So we had to get up to the next roundabout, come back down, and then get on another roundabout, get back up, get back on that road, get to that junction. And I screwed up again. I was like, oh my God, we need to stop talking when we get to this bit, because I need to get home. So then we found ourselves at the other side of Manchester somehow. And, actually what happened was we were driving, we were talking, we took this turn in, we got it right. And then all of a sudden we were at the other side of Manchester. And I was like, what? How have we got here? But the second that everything had gone wrong, she knew it had gone wrong. We both just went silent, like the energy in the car shifted. And we just both stopped talking at the same time. And then I said, I don't know where we are. So we got all the way back around, followed the road signs, got back round to where I wanted to be, took the right bit, very carefully this time, made sure that I got off onto the road to Liverpool. On the road to Liverpool, yay, off we go, right, blah, blah. But we were like, ray, blah, blah, blah. We were just silent all the way home, because that had freaked us out. We knew something, boom, shifted in the energy in the car. And we were on the other side of Manchester. Don't know how we got there. We were instantly there. Too confusing. Couldn't figure it out. Thought, must have driven here, So when we got back home, Dave said, God, you were quick. I thought, that was ridiculous. How could we be quick? I said, I did this. And then we found ourselves at the other side of Manchester. And, like, like, how can we have been quick? I've gone wrong 3 times. So I went to get my phone to prove him wrong. Got my phone. Setting off. See you in a bit from the text message 1 hour ago. It takes an hour and 20 minutes. I've gone wrong 3 times. And it took us an hour. Excuse me. What? How have we gained time? How have we gone wrong? How have we even got from there to there in 1 hour? Never mind going wrong 3 times. And how did we end up at the other side of Manchester? How have I done that when it should have made almost 2 hours and I'm home in an hour? It's impossible.
Well, yeah, not in your world. It's not impossible.
Well, no, I don't know. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I am such a freaked out person. People don't. I can be a little bit special at times, you know. People, I get a bit irritated by liars, and I get irritated by people. Oh, I've got an implant in my neck, and it sets off alarms at the airport. No, it doesn't. You're a liar, and you wouldn't think it was funny. I saw somebody on Twitter the other week. Oh, I got probed last night. Lol. Lol. You're joking. Ask Philip Kinsella about what happened to him when something was put up his backside and it was in his like stomach cavity and he was screaming and screaming and screaming. Lol. They wind me up, so I get a little bit precious at times. But, you know, I'm containing a lot. I've got a lot of questions and zero answers, so, you know.
Well, but you have the right personality to move forward with this, and that's going to take you far as other people that will listen to your words. And I'm looking at your YouTube site here. There's Paranormal Mysteries, and your co-host, is it Paula Green? Is she do the show with you?
She's not my coach. She was a guest, yeah.
Okay,
but we're writing a book together. She's a good artist. She's going to do the artwork. But, you know, we've had overlaps of stuff, so the story is integral. I've got other people. There was another woman that I met, and I had an experience where I had my legs in the air and a green laser in the crook of my arm. I went to see Exopolitics conference in my home city in 2011, and this woman was talking, boom, green lasers. I went home that day and I was like, green lasers? Let me have a look on Google. Dear Google, green lasers. I thought, right, therapy. What else? Medical, you know, keywords came up. Now, this was August 2011 when I'd seen her and her green laser story. And so in Japan, in the previous May, so just a few months before, it approved green light laser therapy for pelvic health in women and prostate health in men in Japan in that May. So June, July, August. So 3 months later, I'm Googling it because we've seen it. I've seen it in 2007. I can't remember when she saw it. I can't remember the year, but so mine was October 2007. And I had my legs in the air. So something was going on in my pelvic area. And it's the pelvic health in women, prostate health in men. And I thought, well, this laser therapy, you know, when you look into that kind of thing, I think it was actually a frequency carried by light which resets any anomalies or deteriorations in your genetic material. Say, like for egg, the ovum in ovaries, and the prostate health in men, the sperm, for it to be perfected so that it's not in a degenerative state. Because toxins and things like that, they make us kind of, when information rewrites itself as our cells regenerate, it kind of wipes off a little bit of the coding. So, you know, as you get older, this information deteriorate. So I think that's why we have these procedures, because it resets everything to how it should be. And if there's some sort of breeding program going on where they're trying to figure out how to incarnate, because they don't have souls, then you know, and they're using a particular genetic line. We are humans. We are prone to these genetic declines. And so I think that might be what's going on there. There's some sort of repair job.
We need to find a way to get Paula on the phone with you so you two can bounce ideas back and forth on the show. Is that something we can arrange?
Absolutely, yeah. She's just said recently, I've had enough. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm sick of it. Always on the same people on the same shows, all the same faces on the same conference circuit. This country, that country, you know, it's like, I've had enough. I'm bored of it all. So, but I know that she'll come out of a retirement after a week just for me.
Yeah, well, you guys you can own the airwaves, and I'll just stand back and listen. But there's definitely a lot of details.
Paula's got so much more to say, and so much has happened to her. And I've got goosebumps now. I just got a real wave of goosebumps thinking about some of the stuff that woman's gone through. And I believe her with every cell in my body. When she was stood in my house and she stood in front of me, and she was painting a picture like you wouldn't believe. She wasn't looking at where she was in her head. I see it, like you can see when somebody's not looking at you, they're looking at what's going on. She wasn't even facing me. And she's like going, so there's the washing line, I was hanging my washing out, the gate was there, there's the garden set out like this. And I mean, she painted the most minute details. I went back down to pick up a peg, and I looked, and through the gap in the gate, I saw these black eyes. She said, as soon as I heard this slappy feet running off up the back street. So she's looking over the wall, sees it jump over something, and it's got like a black leotard on to its thighs because they have to protect the organs from light. So, and Philip Kinsella, who I've just mentioned, the thing that ran through the front door, the door bulged out and this thing just ran through it like it wasn't even a door, also had a black leotard on it. And a helmet. So, I'm not the only one. Because it just seems absurd that they would wear clothes and helmets, you know what I mean? I don't know why, but it just does seem absurd.
Yeah, I've got so many more questions to ask you, and it sounds like Paula's an added addition to the conversation. Now, your show Paranormal Mysteries, how often can people catch new videos?
Well, it was weekly, but I've had a bit of a rough patch recently. So my producer, God bless him, has just been playing repeats. But I've got a couple of people lined up to talk to. I've just made a new bunch of friends, actually. Ended up being admin in another group, Unsealed Files. And, I think I've got a whole new kind of... Because I've been stuck in the same circle. I need to break out of it because I've been very insular about it all and a little bit, a bit strange in the head because it's a lot to try and process. And, when I help other people with their stuff. So I kind of generally distract myself from my own mental hoo-ha by helping other people with theirs because I get to understand myself in a sort of feedback loop. From talking to others and the relationships that we form and support that we get from each other. I've kind of been just doing that and keeping it safe because from September, I out frauds as well, and I outed a man. I won't mention his name because I don't want to put your hair on end. But anyway, a member of the Rendlesham Forest incident crew who isn't a real witness and is a memorabilia forger. He's just a big liar. So I outed him. So I had 4 years of really serious trolling and death threats and attempts to sabotage everything in my actual life because, they can't sabotage conference talks, book signings or blah, 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 because I've got none of that going on. So it was me, I'm disabled. I've got PTSD. I've got ADHD, I've got depression, blah, blah, blah. They tried to have my money taken from me. They told social services I was a drug addict and tried to have my children taken from me. So that's been really traumatic. In September, I gave a conference talk about all of the fraud information. And it was, the adrenaline and everything of that going on because he was saying that I was a terrorist and tying me to all these terrorist attacks because I knew some of the London bombers because they were neighbours. So basically, because they were neighbours, they were friends, and I'm a terrorist sympathiser, blah, blah, blah. So it triggered me badly there. I'm all right now, but, it's taken a while to come down from the trolling, the conference, getting up and saying all that stuff and delivering after massive amounts of research. It's been a bit mental. So, I'm coming out of all that. Yeah.
Do not leave the medium. We need voices like yours out there. So,
I have wanted to stomp off so many times, but I can't because I need these people. These people come to me like I'm some sort of guru at times, and it's like, whoa, no, actually, I'm just you. I've just got a bigger mouth and can't contain my words because I've just got to talk all the time. And she might have noticed.
Well, let's talk off the air and book a part 2 to this. And
there there's so much more.
Yeah, and I've got a ton of questions to ask you. Again,
fine. I will answer them.
under Paranormal Mysteries, you can find...
And any of your listeners, any listeners, I am all over Facebook all of the time. That's my only addiction these days. Apart from maybe paranormal TV shows. Two healthy addictions.
They are good addictions.
If you're going to be an addict, you might as well be addicted to something that's not going to do you any long-lasting damage. Although Facebook sometimes.
No, it definitely shares some information here about some of this stuff. So let's talk soon, and I appreciate you coming on the show, Sacha.
No, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'll be delighted to come back.
All right, that was part 2 of a 3-part series. And, of course, the name Paula came up. Sacha alluded to somebody down the road that she was introduced to that we have an interview available for. Now, I don't know if part 3 of this 2-part series is going to air next. It might. I'm not quite sure. Just given the flavor of what's going on in the world, I think Viral Survival Part 2 kind of puts it in perspective where my head has been floating at. And let's talk a little bit about Part 2. Now, that was the first episode I ever put a warning sticker on. And if you listen to it, you know why it was there. What's shocking is the comments that came back regarding some of Rich's banking advice, which was merely his own perspective on what he's doing and possibilities that you can do and take advantage of through Chapter 13. That was the most controversial part that people got back to me on. The really crazy stuff towards the end, which is crazy but true, no one had a complaint about that, which I think is really interesting, telling. There's certain areas that nobody wants to go, and I understand that. But there may be a part 3, because I just got information that your stimulus check has been held up due to the construction and the layout of what's called the digital wallet. And if you don't know about the ID 2020 and what's going on behind closed doors with the Federal Reserve and the lack of an actual dollar bill in your hand being traded out for a chip or a digital implant, well, that sounds very familiar to me. So we live in interesting times, folks. Keep your eyes in the skies for all sorts of reasons, especially on these full moons. Okay, thanks again for listening. Don't forget Sasquatch Rendezvous with a Z. You can sign up now. Do it. SasquatchRendezvous.com. Order a ticket. Never before seen stuff, at least from my end, going to be aired. And also, listen to the next episode for certain, because at the end, I'm going to announce something in episode 67 about a new webinar that just got thrown in my lap. Thank God. Okay. Have a good week. Stay safe. Stay shielded. Wash your hands. And I will see you in the trees.